Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Texas College Football Show. We're doing another preview, and today we're going to do the UTSA, University of Texas San Antonio Roadrunners, and joining me, who covers them, is Darrien Starling. Darrien, tell me about yourself and how you got into it, exactly who you're working with, what you do in covering the team.
Yeah, so I'm a former player, right? So when UTSA's program came about, football program came about in 2010, that was the behind the scenes parts that people didn't see. That first signing class, I was actually one of the cornerbacks who signed. So I played from UTSA for the first 4 seasons, from 2011 to 2014. And then from there, I've been a freelance writer for places like SB Nation. Right now with Athlon Sports, I've done some other work with a few other establishments. But yeah, I've been covering UTSA independently for the past 3 years, and then the years before that, I was covering UTSA under a brand called Roadrunners Unfiltered that me and a partner named Nick Carrizales used to host together for a podcast. So all in all, I've seen UTSA from the very beginning. So since 2010, I've been around.
All right. Well, that's great. Because, look, I have said this all along. I said it on other preview shows. I think the best football in America is played in Texas, whether it's at the college level or the high school level. Obviously, we got one of the top-ranked teams in the country in college, but in high school, the athletes that come out of this state are amazing, that fill these rosters all over the country, but especially in Texas. I'm also a Texas guy, so I'm pulling for every Texas team, no matter where they are. Yes, I am admittedly a UT fan. I grew up a UT fan. I didn't go there. My son is going to be going to UT in the fall. So I think it's more for me. I think it's better I tell you that up front, or anybody, not you, but anybody that's watching this, so they know where I'm coming from, because I want you to give me guff or crap or anything about it. That's what makes this fun. But UTSA, I'm a Jeff Traylor fan, and watching this team and what they've done, but I want to know more about them. Now that this year, we're going to do something on them every week and kind of keep up to date on them. So you tell me about Jeff Traylor. I really like Jeff Traylor. I did a coaches show where I ranked the coaches. Let me put it up here, and you'll see that number 7 on there. I had Jeff Traylor number 7 on that list. Tell me about Coach Traylor. What's he like?
Yeah, Coach Traylor's a great coach, man. I think he's brought a lot of great energy to the city of San Antonio. I'm whenever you mention UT, I actually live in Austin now, so I hear from UT fans almost every day. But no, back on Jeff Traylor, he's a great coach. I think when you look at where UTSA's been from a coaching standpoint since its inception, it started out with Larry Coker. That was my head coach for the first 5 years of the program. Then it transitioned for a few years to a man by the name of Frank Wilson, where things didn't go great with Frank Wilson, but he definitely up-leveled the school and where it needs to be. And Jeff Traylor has come in and sort of put everything together. He has the city of San Antonio behind him. He has a real he's established a real recruiting pipeline in the state of Texas, coming from East Texas, which is where I'm from as well. So yeah, I think he's brought momentum. He's made UTSA champions, and he's brought a winning culture with 2 consecutive back-to-back Conference USA championships in 2022 and 2023. Right. And then yeah, I just expect the highest of him. I'm just hoping that we can keep him for a long time, because I know there's a lot of big time programs
that look at him.
Yeah. Looking at him. Exactly.
Well, and let me tell you what I love. And I said this in the coaches preview show that I love about Jeff Traylor. He's a former high school coach that did really well at Gilmer, Texas. Look, this is his 6th season at UTSA. He is 46-20 overall. He's won conference championship twice, the Conference USA twice. I am just totally impressed with Jeff Traylor. He got a big payday that he does well. But like I said, for his couple of schools in the state of Texas, and for, unfortunately, I think UTSA, you come and do it successful at UTSA, it could be a stepping stone to something bigger and better. And that's where some of these schools, when they land on a great coach, unfortunately, sometimes it might promote them up going up into it. But I really, really like him. And, I don't know if you saw or not, I did my coach's hot seat in doing on that. It was basically If you're on the hot seat, it's put up or else. If you're on the warm seat, maybe you're not hearing it, but there are some grumblings back behind you. The cool seat, you're okay, and the cold seat where everybody just loves you. I struggled with this one on Traylor, and where I thought he was. He's probably on the coldest seat you could be on, but I put it cool just because. Look, they moved over to a new conference right now. We want to see if he can do it over there. Look, he's not going anywhere as long as he wants that job. You can tell me I'm wrong right there. This guy's got a secure job.
Yeah, absolutely. Like he's as cold as it gets, right? You're correct in your assessment of like, yeah, there's no colder seat in the state of Texas than his right now. But the thing is are there other schools around that's going to make that seat a little bit warmer, right? And not from a standpoint of he's underachieving, but as he continues to achieve great heights with UTSA, there's already been school. For example, a couple of years ago, he took an interview with Texas A&M, right, for their coaching vacancy. He also took an interview, or at least I think I have it on good authority. He took an interview with Houston. That one wasn't as publicly known at the time. So there are schools that are out there that are going to try to procure his services. But I think as long as UTSA continues to give him the resources that he's looking for, I think that's been a huge topic of discussion. I've talked to him directly about these things when I was down in San Antonio a couple of months ago. And yeah, he wants to stay in. The good thing is he genuinely wants to stay in San Antonio. He genuinely loves the school, but he needs resources to be able to compete with some of the top people in the conference. And as long as he gets that, I think he'll be happy to stay in San Antonio.
Hey, I agree, and you couldn't fault a guy like Jeff Traylor if he was offered the job at A&M. That's a school with resources that UTSA can't match that. As great a school as it is, they can't match what Texas A&M or Texas could have offered him in that situation. I like the fact, I said something about it. Jeff Traylor, when he first took the first college job he took a job at the University of Texas on Charlie Strong's staff, which was a very big pickup for Charlie Strong, who needed to recruit the state of Texas. He had a high school Hall of Fame coach in Traylor coming out of Gilmer, where he had won like 3 state titles and been to 5. I mean, this guy knew what he was doing. He was a former Gilmer player years ago too, doing that. But I'm a big Jeff Traylor fan, and if Sark ever went anywhere or retired and Jeff Traylor was still out there, I mean, that's a guy I would look at. I'm a big fan. What he's done at UTSA is amazing. And look, Texas wasn't as good that year that UTSA almost beat them, but good Lord, they hung with Texas that year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean Jeff Traylor is he's a unique guy, man, and I think the biggest thing is the gravity around him, right? Like people like being around that sort of infectious attitude because it spreads through people and it gets everyone around the program, everyone around the city excited to see what he's going to produce. And man, he's just been great, and I hope we can have him as long as possible.
Absolutely, especially an alumni like yourself. You want to see the best coaches you can. But you know what? Here's what I will say: where UTSA has progressed and gotten better is that UTSA is a school that if Jeff Traylor was to move on, they have the resources to go out and get another good young coach that they could bring in, and it would be a hot name. That would be for a guy wanting to achieve a blue blood job. UTSA would be a great job to go to and build something there that could lead you to a true blue blood.
100%. I think one of the things that sort of goes under the radar in the whole discussion of coaches just around is like our AD, our athletic director, Lisa Campos, is always the topic of discussion, because when Traylor has these interviews and he's talking about resources and resource optimization and making sure that we are leveraging revenue share and NIL to the best of our abilities to be able to compete on a recruiting trail. A lot of that stuff is not necessarily directed at her as a shot, but it's a notice to let her know, like, hey, I need my resources so we can compete with the best of the best. One thing I will give Dr. Lisa Campos is that she does a very good job with our coaching hires. So in the event that Coach Traylor at some point moves on, I would be she's still running the athletic department. I'd feel super confident that UTSA will get another primetime coach, but
Yeah,
I'm not trying
I
to push
think
him out the door.
no, you're not at all. But it would be an attractive job.
Right,
It would be an
absolutely.
attractive job. Anybody sees a guy take off from there to a big blue blood school is going to know that's an attract. It's kind of like Boise State, the way that became a
Right.
stepping stone job that, they kind of came out of nowhere and did that. Let's go into, before we get into the offense and defense, let's go into what we went through last year and the season. Last year, they were 7-6 overall. They were 4-4 in the AAC, and notable games last year. I'll never forget that, the loss to Rice, 29-27. I thought they should have beat Rice. They went and beat Memphis, who was really highly regarded. Boy, they put a whipping to North Texas last year. Look, UTSA has got it going on. So heading into this season, we've got a lot to build off of, and we'll go off what we're going to do. But let's start with the offense. And if you're going to start with the offense on any team, it's going to go to the quarterback. And why I think there's going to be some success at UTSA is they've got a guy that played a lot last year. Owen McCown is back, and he's penciled in as the starter. Let's be honest. He started, let's see, what did he do? He was last year he started all 13 games, 3,424 yards, 25 TDs, 10 interceptions. You can only build off of that right there. He's back. This is the son of Luke McCown, if those don't remember that name. He played about 18 years in the NFL, I think, all over the place. This is a good kid.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like, I'm just thinking about last season, right? In the 13 games that we got to see Owen McCown for an extended period of time, the first beginning of the season did not go well for him. I just want to be honest about that, right? I think that loss to Texas State was gut-wrenching. He kind of ended the season into a quarterback battle, right? Like, was he going to be the guy? It was either him or Eddie Lee Marburger at the time. Eddie Lee is now down at the UT at Rio Grande Valley now. But Owen McCown was he started off a bit rocky, but as the season went on, he started to find himself. And if you look at the second half of that season, UTSA closed 4-1, and he had a lot to do with that. He started passing the ball very, very well at a high clip. The connection that he's made with his tight end, his receivers, of course, but his tight ends were really instrumental on third downs and red zone and things like that. They were a huge touchdown target for him. If you look at the tight end share, it's some of the top in the nation in terms of how many touchdowns they caught versus the rest of the team, I think. So anyway, McCown is great. I think he's put himself in a position to where if he starts this season out, if he picks up where he left off from last season, he's going to make a lot of noise and a lot of national headlines in 2025 if he's able to do that. And if he's able to do that as well, that means success for UTSA as a whole in terms of in the win and loss column in 2025. Sure. So I'm super excited to see what he brings to the table.
Yeah, and you can see the number 8 up there, guys. If you go back and see it, I did count down the quarterbacks in the Texas FBS. I had Luke at number 8. He got up to number 8 for me because of the number of, he's a returning starter coming back. He played a lot last year. I'm excited to see where he goes this year. It'll be interesting. I'm going to be watching every Texas team so much closer now that I'm doing this show. But let's go into the rest of the offense real quick. Who are the returning starters or impact players that you see this year besides Luke McCown? What else do they have coming back?
Yeah, so I think the receiver position is going to be a position that's going to get a lot of attention, right? Devin McEwen is probably the top guy that's going to be returning at the receiver position. He's experienced. He was a starter as a freshman. He moved into a more prominent role last season as a sophomore, but he battled some injuries, so he was in and out the lineup a bit. David Amador II, it's a guy that we have been waiting on for a while to really show himself. He had been struggling with some injuries early in his career, but whenever he hit the scene, he was a big-time star for us. And if he can stay healthy this year, I expect him to be the actual breakout star for UTSA in general. He's a face of the program kind of guy. He has that kind of talent. Yeah. So if he can stay healthy, he's a big-time guy. Houston Thomas is a big name that I think you'll start to see a lot more as well at that tight end position. This is a guy that I think that you could potentially see on Sundays. He's that good of a talent. And the way
about 500 yards receiving last year at tight end with
as
about
a tight end,
6 or 7 tight end touchdowns, I think, or something like that.
Exactly. So you have that, and you got to understand UTSA uses a lot of tight ends. So he was splitting time with Oscar Cardenas, who was a UTSA star for a while. He's with the Arizona Cardinals now. Patrick Overmeyer is another one of those tight ends that has quite a few touchdowns. And I'm drawing a blank on the other one, but it's three main tight ends that we have. Houston Thomas is the standout of those three. You'll definitely hear a lot about him. Robert Henry Jr., who's I think is in his 6th year or something like that at running back. He's a burner. He's going to be the main guy at running back. And then you got like Kamar Missouri on the line. We got a couple of guys on the offensive line that are going to be returners as well. So our offense should be good to go next season. But the other side of the ball is where the concern is going into 2025.
Well, let's go to the other side of the ball. So tell me about some impact players or returning starters, or maybe somebody from the transfer portal.
Yeah, so on defense, UTSA is basically scrapping the entire defense and starting with a brand new one. And I mean, literally. And it's not that they're getting rid of kids, but like so many people left last year, due to, just graduating, or you had a lot of seniors, right? So the big Brandon Brown and Joe Evans that were on the defensive line last year, Jamori Robinson, who was the conference player of the year last year, they've all moved on. Jamal Ligon also is another one who's on the NFL roster right now. So returning, you have Owen Pee-wee. He plays sort of like a linebacker role on the outside. He's going to be rushing the passer a lot, making a lot of plays. But so he's going to be a locked in guy. He was with Coach Traylor at Media Day last week. But I think some guys that I have of note that I think you should just be on the lookout for. R.J. Lester. He's a transfer from Oklahoma State at the cornerback position. He's about 6'3", somewhere around 200 pounds. He puts you in the mind of the two UTSA corners that have gotten drafted recently. Zay Frazier last year was a standout for UTSA at the corner position. He's another guy that we lost. He got drafted in the 5th or 6th round by the Chicago Bears. Before that, Tariq Woolen, who is now a star cornerback for the Seattle Seahawks, came from the same exact coach with the same exact build, another 6'4", 6'3", 6'4" corner. And we got this guy. I talked to Coach Nicholas Graham, who's the cornerbacks coach for UTSA, in April when I went down and watched the guys practice. He told me before we had got this guy's committal that, hey, if I can land this guy here, he's gonna be my next NFL player.
Good.
Couple months or a couple weeks later, we got that guy's full commitment. So he's someone that I expect that will come right in and play. You'll see some people like Elijah Newell. You'll hear that name. He's a safety. He played a little bit as a freshman last year. Jimmy Warwick, who is a Stanford transfer, you'll hear his name as well. So it's kind of too early to say, but there's some names and some momentum behind some of the names that we got already.
That's good. Now let's go in before we go into the regular schedule. I'm going to show you my prediction. Let's go into the schedule without the predictions on there. Let me tell you what. You start out the season at Texas A&M. Don't sleep on this game, guys. I'm telling you. Yes, A&M is likely to win this game. There's no doubt. They probably got the deeper and talented roster. But I'm going to tell you right now. UTSA has a returning quarterback, all of that. Now, it sounds like the defense is the question mark in stopping Marcel Reed in that offense, and A&M does have a solid offensive line. I think this game will be closer than what the spread will be, and A&M's likely going to be favored by probably a couple of touchdowns or more. I think it could go quicker than that, and I'm not saying upset alert, but if UTSA were to pull off an Appy State or something like that from a couple of years ago, it would not be out of the question because Jeff Traylor does not. I mean, look, last year they opened the season or played the first game against the second game maybe against Texas. Like you said, Owen McCown was still getting his feet out from under him, and Texas, like A&M, was just a talented team, and their defense is what took them right there. So I'm not calling the upset, but don't sleep on the upset on there. That might be a fun game. Tell me what you think are the when it comes into these games, which ones are games to watch, which ones are the most important games. That week we got to be fired up for because this will be huge.
Yeah, so I will say this before I get into some of the games I'm thinking about. On the Texas A&M game, people all summer have been trying to talk me into like UTSA is going to upset Texas State. and giving me so many reasons. Or not, I'm not Texas State, I'm sorry, Texas A&M.
Right.
UTSA is going to upset Texas A&M, and they've given me a ton of reasons as to why. I'm still not completely convinced,
Sure.
but it is interesting because UTSA is bringing in a highly an offense that is as prolific. So to me, I think that UTSA will score points against A&M.
Yes.
I just don't know if it'll be enough. But games of note, obviously the Texas State game is going to be the big one, right? UTSA marketing team has a campaign out right now to see if we're going to try to break our all-time attendance record. So we'll need about 57,000 people to show up for that. Last time UTSA and Texas State played in the Alamo Dome, you got about 49 or so thousand, or 46 or 49 or so thousand. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. Texas State did beat UTSA last year, embarrassed UTSA early last season. So everyone in San Antonio wants to get that one back. So just for excitement for neutrals, that's just one to take heed of. I'll tell you a couple of games. There are two games that I think in particular that's probably going to decide conference. That October 30th game against Tulane, that's going to be a big one.
Yeah.
Tulane and Navy are favored to win the American Conference this year.
Yep. Now it's the American Conference. It used to be the American Athletic Conference.
Yeah. It's the American now. So that's going to be a big one because I actually did a piece on this today. I actually think UTSA should be favored to win in this season because UTSA is one of the few teams in this conference that are bringing back a quarterback, as we talked about. Okay. All of these other schools have turnover at quarterback. UNT, Tulane, Army, all of these schools have turnover at quarterback, not UTSA. So when you look at that Tulane game, the fact that UTSA has not lost, they did not lose a home game last year. UTSA hadn't lost a home game since November of 2023. So when you look at this game against Tulane has to come to the Dome. That's if UTSA wins that game. To me, I look at a South Florida and I look at a Charlotte and East Carolina. I favor UTSA in those games from next year. So anyway, Tulane's a big one, and then Army. That last game against Army is going to be tough. Army has just been a Achilles heel for UTSA for a while, and I think them potentially standing in the way of UTSA being able to compete for a conference title is going to be a huge game. It's going to be a lot of people there, and that's one to definitely keep your eyes on for sure.
Is there a trap game where you think everyone thinks this team is like a trap game for A&M might be UTSA, something like that. And you look at other ones on there too, where they might obviously in that SEC, but is there a trap game where you're like, you know what, look, this team is going to be favored here, but coming off of this win or loss this week, or maybe looking ahead to Tulane, maybe North Texas, something like that. Is there a trap game out there?
100% North Texas. It's 100% North Texas because my reasoning for that is UTSA starts conference play with a pretty light. I think UTSA at Temple, UTSA should be fine in that game. Even the game with Rice coming to the Dome, right? I think UTSA should have beat Rice last year. I think that UTSA just squandered that one away. But I think Rice coming to the Alamo Dome is going to be a problem for them. But that North Texas team is interesting because, they have turnover at quarterback as well. But, they always produce great offense under Norris, right?
Right.
Morris, right? So, that they're going to find a way to produce points. What they've brought in on the defensive side of the ball is intriguing. I don't know if it's enough in this new defensive coordinator's first year. I don't know if he'll close the gap enough for that team to be competing for a title in the conference. But it's a team that's going to be dangerous. They're going to be chomping at the bit to get at UTSA, and UTSA and North Texas always play close, crazy, high scoring games. So that one, if UTSA is not, if they're not focused, that one could be a trap game for sure.
Okay, so what do you see as a best case scenario? What does this team finish this year?
Best case, this is going to sound crazy, but best case scenario is an 11-1 finish.
Lose to A&M and then finish out.
Yes.
Okay.
Because all of the games are winnable to me.
Yes, I think so too.
Yeah, so it's not no one else on this schedule. I'm just like, hey, you know what? This is going to be a loss. Obviously, Tulane's going to be a tough game. Army's going to be a tough game. I think North Texas is going to be a tough game for UTSA as well. But like some of the other teams here, I think UTSA should do well against, especially with a quarterback coming. So best case scenario, 11-1.
What's the worst case?
Worst case scenario, I'm looking at probably 7-5.
Okay.
I think, you got A&M. What if, UTSA could drop the games against Army, Tulane, North Texas, even a South Florida, or even slip up against East Carolina or something like that. You just never know, right? So I think 7-5. I think UTSA will do 7-5. It was interesting hearing Coach Traylor talk last week, and he talked about, UTSA winning 7 games last year in a regular season wasn't great for him, right?
Right.
And he talked about that being disappointing. So it just lets you know the standard he has. So to me, if you come back with that same win total, I think that's a poor season, and I expect UTSA to be a lot higher than that, because he's thinking they're going to be a lot better than that.
Okay, well, here's my prediction. So you're going to disagree, and that's fine. Tell me where I'm wrong. So I have them going 7-5.
Okay.
Okay, so look, like you said, in anything, one good win rolls anybody. And like I said, I looked at all the prognosticators. I looked at what people thought. And then I had to make an educated guess on what games should be won, what games should be lost. I think the Texas State game is obviously one that they could easily flip. That doesn't even – Temple's another one they could flip. And like you said, East Carolina – that's one they should flip. So that's easily, you take those 3 and reverse them right there. And what are you now? Now you're 10-2. In that situation, you got Army at the end, and then you've got Texas A&M, which we both think is going to be there. But where else? Where do you see it?
Yeah. So I definitely think you got to flip I think I'm flipping the Texas State game. I think Texas State, as good as they've been over the last couple of seasons, they're ushering in a new quarterback too, and
yes, they got 3 guys competing for that job. Yep,
right. So they caught UTSA last year with Owen McCown being new, and UTSA having quarterback issues or just quarterback uncertainty coming into the season. It's going to be a completely different ball game this time around. The Temple game, to me, that one you have to flip as well, or I would flip as well, because I don't know. Temple won 3 games last season. I don't know if they turn it around enough to where they'll be competing, even with UTSA having to go up to Temple. I don't know if they turn it around enough to where they'll be beating the UTSA. I think that team they have some good things going in the offseason, but I think they got some work to do. And then listen, the East Carolina and the Army, those are tougher flips. Especially the Army one.
Both of them being at home, though, you think you could steal one of those?
100%. And that's the reason why I'm so big on UTSA having a dominating season, because UTSA has historically under Traylor been so good at home. I think he's like 29-3 at home since he's been at UTSA. So, or something like that. Maybe that's too much, but he has an amazing home record. And I look at, it's one of the reasons why I think, this might be the year for UTSA to actually beat Army and feel good about it. And it's because UTSA got him at the Dome. So those two games at the Dome are ones that I think we can flip as well.
And I'm for it. Like I said, these are a prediction game, which everybody has no clue what's going to happen.
Yeah,
you see what happens, like SMU last year, the role they went on going into the ACC and ended up making it to the college football playoffs. UTSA, for a guy that predicted 7-5, I'm also a guy that's saying Texas A&M better not sleep on UTSA. Yes, the defense has questions. You pointed that out and confirmed it, but they've got a quarterback that threw for 3,500 yards who's back. He's solidified himself. He's not the quarterback that played against Texas and was getting his feet under him. No. Now, look, Texas was better, and they were going to probably kick their rear end anyway. But you had a young quarterback that was really kind of, getting chased around. Now, look what he ended up doing. 25 TDs and 10 interceptions last year? He ended up like that. I mean, that's a guy that solidified himself.
100%. Yeah, I think. I mean, they announced that he was on the Maxwell list this week,
On the
and
watch.
yeah, the Maxwell watch list. And I was just like, okay, yeah, he deserves it. I think a lot of people are looking at UTSA and circling him because I mean, one of the things about college football now, it's hard to find continuity.
Yep.
And he's someone that's going to be able to bring that because it's going to be him and a lot of the weapons that he was able to utilize last year. So sky's the limit for him.
Yep. Well, listen, Darrien, this has been fantastic. I appreciate you coming on. Like I tell everybody this year, when some of those, every week I'm going to do the countdown. That'll just be me by myself, and I'll count them down from 13 to 1. It's going to change every week with wins and losses. But when those big games are coming, one of those weeks where UTSA, maybe it's the Texas State game, I don't know. We may jump on in the middle of the week and preview the game and do about a 15, 20-minute preview just to get something else out there. It's going to be good to have you now in my contacts, and we'll definitely touch base again. And then next off season or going to a bowl game, we'll for sure go preview that.
Of course. Hey, man, thanks for having me on. This was great. This was fun as always. I love talking UTSA football, and I'd come on anytime. Just hit me up.
All right, for Darrien, I'm John Moore, guys. Until next time, we will see you at the gridiron.